stash your worries at the Craftstache store. Let's craft and laugh till we can't anymore.
Welcome to the Craftstache. Today we are joined with Steve Mitchell, who is one of the hosts of the Creative Craft Show. I hope I've got that right.
Yep.
So Steve, do you want to just give us a little bit about who you are and kind of what you do as far as the event?
Yeah, so I'm the sales director for ICHF events. So we run about 20, just over 20 events across the UK every year. So ICHF has been running or been in existence now for about 40 years. And the craft show we do at the NEC at the end of October, beginning of November. So the 30th of October to the 2nd of November is the biggest one and in the UK. And potentially the biggest one in the world, because we have not only the Creative Craft Show, which is all things craft, so card making, jewellery making, knitting, stitching, you name it, we've got it. We have a Christmas show which runs alongside, and then also the biggest cake show in the world, which is Cake International and Bake International. So a busy 4 days at the NEC. So yeah, that's where...
We have to tell you that we were in a meeting internally, I think it was last week, and they were talking about the cake show, and we had no idea that this was a thing. So I would love to hear about the cake show, because I'm so fascinated by this, and I think it sounds like the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's absolutely crazy. So I think last year we just had you have obviously all the exhibitors that are selling cake supplies, cake decorating tools, baking supplies, baking ingredients, that kind of thing. But then the competition is, last year I think we had just over 1,000 cakes, which range from really small, miniature, intricate sort of, I don't know, they look like real flowers. Mel, who runs the cake show, will actually kill me, because she'll be like, you didn't say this, or you missed this out. But they go from life size. So last year, you've got the cake competition, which is everything from sort of wedding cakes to sort of like real life cakes. We've sort of seen it on TV where, you think it's cake, but it's not a cake, it's actually a handbag.
Yes.
Or vice versa. But last year we had a life-sized King Charles. So one of the cake artists, Emma Jane, made a life-size version of the King. I think this year she's doing Michael Jackson. Right, so yeah,
quite a shift from last year.
Quite a shift, yeah. I think because the year before that was a little bit more of a royal theme, because I think we had Queen Elizabeth I or something. Yeah, so it was. But yeah, it's really amazing. Sort of like the talent that's on show in the it's just crazy, and you just see all these things that are made out of cake, and you think, right, what happens at the end?
Yeah, what does happen at the end? Do you guys just do you just eat a bunch of cake for like months following the show?
That would be really nice. Sadly, most of it goes in the skip. I think so all of the work from all these artists just goes in the skip.
Well, I'm sure it's just sitting out for a whole day.
Yeah,
so.
There's been a couple of times where cakes, because they're iced around sort of polystyrene or something like that, they've gone on tour, but obviously there's only so long that they will last, I think, before they look not that great.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So busy 4 days at the NEC. Obviously the craft show has been going now, I think, for sort of 35 years. And it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I think this year will be one of our biggest to date.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think we've got over 500 workshops that run over the 4 days. So you can do everything from pyrography to sort of paper quilling, calligraphy, stitching workshops. So yeah, just absolutely. And I think the nice thing about it is that if you're a beginner into the world of craft, you can actually, come and learn a new skill. But if you're very good, or a very experienced crafter, you can actually come in and actually do something which sort of like, really improves your skills, but you can come out with something that looks pretty good. So.
So do you find that most of your customers are like most of the people that are walking around the craft show side, are those people that were maybe at like the Christmas event or the cake event, are those kind of new to the craft world and they just kind of come in and maybe learn a new craft while they're there?
Yeah, we do. I think November, because we run a number of shows, as I said, sort of like over the UK, which are normally just sort of completely craft shows. So the people that come to those are just crafters, but there is that crossover in the autumn show where you get your diehard crafters who, and I think you get your craft audience to come into the craft show, and then we'll go into Christmas, and then we'll go into cake, because they're like, oh my God, look at all these amazing sort of creations. And then from the cake sort of side, you get the cake audience that will come in, and we have sort of art supplies. So some of the cake artists would use paintbrushes and stencils and things that we use in the craft market for their cakes. And again, they were going to Christmas, but I think then the Christmas audience go into both, because again, they're sort of like, I don't know, they're a certain audience, and I think everybody would either want to knit or want to sew or make their own card, or or just buy some sort of paints or things like that. So I think that all of the things that we see and hear from the visitors is that they may be into one sort of type of craft, but they always then want to go and try something else, which is why they've got their Craftstache, and which they keep adding and adding and adding to. So
yes, and that is a problem for us all.
It's funner to buy the craft supplies than it is to actually do the craft sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
We've even had a couple of visitors that said, "Oh, I've got so much craft supplies. How much is it to have a stand at one of your shows?" And we're like, "Well, just hold on to your craft supplies and keep adding to it, because
they want to come use your show as a way to offload supplies."
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
What, have you noticed any crafting trends that you see a lot, maybe that are upcoming this year or that have grown in popularity as you guys have been doing the show?
I think everything sort of seems to go in cycles, but definitely in the UK, and I think probably in the US, from sort of speaking to some of the exhibitors that we have that have sort of gone to the US market, the sort of interest in sort of like soft crafts is definitely on the rise. So sort of quilting and sewing, but then also there's I suppose the newer, I don't know if it's a newer craft, but it's a newer trend in terms of using the machine, so the printing machine, so making your own coasters or designing your own coasters, your t-shirts, so using I'm going to sort of like, I'm not a crafter, by the way, so if I get any of this wrong, don't
You're doing great.
Although I've tried plenty of crafts, but I'm absolutely rubbish at all of them, apart from maybe glitter or something like that, which is really easy because I can put some glue on it and chuck some glitter.
And you can't mess it up.
Yeah. But I think where they use a sort of like this, is it the Sizzix machine, Silhouette, all of those machines, and I think there's a real trend in sort of like people sort of starting their own sort of like businesses on Etsy and all that kind of thing, and using those machines and templates to actually design things. And I think that's sort of coming more and more into the sort of like the craft market. So
yeah. We've noticed that a lot too from our end, just that people want to design their own stuff more than they used to. It used to just be making the physical craft, but now they want to design it first and then make it, which is, I think, a huge shift in crafting.
Yeah. But I think it's quite nice to see because, as I said, everybody sort of says that they want to try something new or they want to do something different. So I think, where you may come into the craft world sort of like with card making or sort of like in paper craft or sewing, but then you sort of like progress and you always want to sort of like, whether that's sort of, I don't know, diamond art or something like that. So there's something that's sort of like new, fresh to the market. Everybody's looking for something new all the time, and I think that's the great thing about craft, that there's always something new on the market and something new for them to see. So
Justi, you got one for us, or you want me to go again?
Go again. My notes won't load.
No! I was waiting. I was going to give you a turn. I was like, I don't want to dominate the conversation here. Okay, so tell us about the first time visitor experience. I'm always super interested, and I'm sure you have tons of, repeat people who come every single year, but what if someone's going for the very first time, what should they expect, and maybe how should they plan out their day?
I think if you're coming to the NEC show, you probably need more than a day if you're going to do 2 shows. But if you're coming to sort of like one of the craft shows, so
Sure.
just say you're just coming to the craft show, then I think the key thing is get there early, or if you don't mind the sort of joining a queue, get there early. And then sort of plan your day. So have a look at our website first, have a look at the exhibitors you want to see, because most people will come in and they either want to start shopping or they sit down with a good old British cup of tea and decide on what they what they want to sort of see and sort of like plan their route around. But yeah, I think have a look at your sort of like exhibitors. But I think from the first time visitor, come in, walk the show, look at what's on offer, maybe plan to do some workshops, 1 workshop or 2 workshops, they usually last an hour, because then you're either going to learn a new skill or improve on an existing skill and get to take something home with you. And then really, I think it's just about sort of, a lot of the exhibitors we have do what we call sort of like make and takes. So they will have their stand, and if that was a bead stand, for example, you may be able to sit down at the end of that stand and actually make a small sort of like bracelet. So we call it a make and take. It usually sort of sits down. It's half an hour with one of the stand holders or their representatives, and you can make something for sort of like £5-10,
Nice.
and get to take it away. But you're sort of like trying something, so you're not sort of sitting down for sort of like a half-day workshop or an hour. You're sort of sat there. So then you can try lots of different things, and then once we've got you into that world of craft, you'll be coming to every show. There's the dog. Sorry.
You have to make yourself known.
So what do you feel like is, like, at the craft show specifically, the one or 2 things that you have to stop for, like the must see of the craft show?
Good question.
That is a really good question. I would say it would
Glitter.
glitter, yeah, glitter and more glitter. But I think really, I don't think there is actually one thing, which is a little bit of a cop out. But a lot of the shows we have different features, for example. So, so it may be an embroidery competition or embroidery feature by a well-known, artist. We have different exhibitions. So there would be a sort of certain feature that may pull you in, that you say, right, yeah, this is a must-have. So at the March show we had in the NEC earlier this year, we had the red dress, which has been on tour around the world. So again, I may get this completely wrong, but it was a collaboration of sort of like women from around the world who'd all made a part of this red dress. I think it was about 450 women, but it's been on tour, and it was amazing, sort of showcased, and people came, to see that, because that was their opportunity to see that one thing. But I just think if you're coming to the craft show, you're going to either get inspiration or get supplies for anything that you actually want to do. So I think that's the key thing, because you're going to come and be inspired to get creative. I think that would be the one thing. So there's going to be something for everyone, and I think it's, like I said before, whether you're beginner or experienced, there's something there for you to really immerse yourself in, get stuck into.
Well, I mean, the right answer was the design bundle.
Well, I was going to come on to that, because obviously in November we have design bundles, so head straight to that stand. Which one are any of you going to be there on the stand?
No, I was actually going to go, but I can't now because my daughter's got some things. But well, a lot of us will be there, and a lot of people that you've seen on the channel will be there, which will be really fun.
Yes, yeah. No, the
We
design
definitely
bundle
have
stand
them.
was very popular last year, and I hear you've got some new VIP packages and pro packages this year, which
We do.
should be. But I think the good thing about design bundles is not only, we've got 600 exhibitors at the show in November, for example. So across those 3 shows, so that pro package is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's applicable to them. But then you've also got those 50,000 visitors that are going to come in and maybe take up, one of the, VIP packages, but also maybe the pro packages because they've got a little Etsy business or, something like that. So, yeah, absolutely. I think, the design bundle stand was just something different. We didn't have anything like that at the show before. So, and I think, the packages just seem so easy to use. And the team, I have to give a shout out to the team on the stand last year. So she did our son a little glass with his gamer tag.
Oh, cute.
Which he's still got pride of place, so we're only allowed to sort of, wash very carefully.
Oh.
So,
Well, now that we have UV DTF, we need to make him another one because then it can go through the dishwasher and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
You wouldn't
exactly.
have to
Yeah, that's music to my ears.
I'm sure you're very carefully washing this.
Oh my God, you just think, oh my God, if we break this or anything.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Yes, I have a 6-year-old who is the same. He has some prized possessions that I'm like, I will die if I break this because
exactly. Yeah, they get so attached. And you think they won't remember, but they do.
They do. They
do.
definitely. They always remember.
Yeah.
What about, so this is kind of shifting gears a little bit, but obviously our people at Design Bundles, a lot of our audience lives in the world of digital design, digital, crafting, making files. I'm sorry, I'm not making the right words, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So have you seen people utilizing that at the craft show at all, selling digital designs? Is that something that anybody does?
I haven't seen anybody specifically doing that, but I do think it's becoming more apparent, if that makes sense, because It's very difficult for me to sort of see that as you sort of go around.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said before, I think we also do some craft fairs, so not sort of so this is finished crafts, so people that actually make their own stuff. And I think you're seeing more of that digital design work where you can see people have used a digital design package coming into that. So just to sort of clarify, I suppose the November show is all about sort of craft supplies and that kind of thing. We do a couple of other shows where it's more about, they've made it, then they want to sell it. And I think that's where you're sort of seeing those products come in, where you can sort of see they've used a digital design package, to use that product. And I think it's very difficult now to because you differentiate about, whether they've designed it themselves or they've actually used a package. And I think that's pretty good because I think you want to sort of you want that creativity to sort of still shine through, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, that's
I don't
a
know
fun
if that
thing
answered your
about...
question or not. Or
You did, yeah. I was just curious about it because I know that we've seen that a lot on our own site too, where it's you almost can't tell anymore in a lot of cases. And I just didn't know if that was something you guys were seeing as well.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the fun things about digital because, I got into design bundles because I was a font artist. And it's been over 10 years since I made my first font and I see it all over the place. And I can kind of suss out, if someone said, oh, they made that themselves, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my font. And if they don't know what I'm talking about, then they definitely bought it somewhere. And then I get nosy and I go find it. But it's such a neat thing where you can just make one little digital asset 10 years ago and it's still floating around because everybody needs them. We all need files.
They do.
So I guess the next question would be, we're obviously Design Bundles itself has launched dtfprinter.com. We're coming to the UK eventually. We're very close, I think, as far as working out how that's going to work. But have you seen, and let me, in case, because you said you didn't craft, so I don't want you to feel way out of the loop. DTF is like these little prints. They're pre-printed, so we print them and then we send them to you, and then all you really do is, can you tell I'm a crafter? You put them on
in reach.
You put them in on things, like that was UV DTF. There's also one that's more for shirts.
Yeah,
I have a bunch behind me over here. I don't know if you can see it, but.
So is that a trend that you're kind of seeing on your side? Because I know that a lot of the crafters locally for like my area, they're all using it somehow.
I think so. Yeah, I'm seeing more and more products with that, and I think the opportunity for our audience is to actually understand. We have one exhibitor in particular who sells all of the machines, basically. So he would sell all of the, Cricut machines, Silhouettes, all of those machines. And you can see the popularity of that stand increasing, where people are asking the questions on, how do I get that onto a t-shirt? How can I get this onto a glass, onto whatever it may be? But that is definitely a sort of like an emerging trend, and I think it's. I don't know whether, I suppose, from my point of view, it seems to be more of a sort of like a technological sort of trend. Although it's still craft, it's sort of like more technology craft. Your traditional craft is what you sit there and sew, and it's mindfulness and stuff. But I think, I don't know whether it's the right terminology, but that technological sort of craft is still mindful, because you're still designing and you still want to sort of create products that are unique and unique, bespoke to you, whatever that may be. But yeah, 100%, I think that is a trend, and I think that trend's only going to grow as well.
We have when we first started, that was probably our biggest hurdle. Was we have a lot of older crafters who are just they're not on computers. They didn't grow up with computers, so a lot of our customer service for the first couple of years was talking someone who'd never used a computer before into getting on their computer, taking out their Cricut, like you can do this, you totally can. I've been on the phone with several, very, very just lost people, and it's totally possible. It's totally doable. I think a lot of people get really scared of that hurdle of bringing technology in, but once they learn
absolutely. And I think it's, some of the audiences, or the traditional sort of craft audiences, are that older generation, and I think we moved away. I mean, it's silly things. We moved away from having a, handout paper map, for example, to sort of scan a QR code. And, that was we didn't think it would be a big transition. That was a big transition for some people, to sort of like have, use that QR code as their sort of like map, or use the phone as their map. And I think, absolutely. And I think that's where, when you launch something like that, but I think they embrace it. They want to ask the questions, and I think them asking the questions is actually really good, because they're eager for that sort of knowledge, aren't they? They're eager for that knowledge and sort of to learn something, and learn something new, and actually, I'm going to gain my confidence in using this Cricut machine, and look what I've produced at the end of it.
I think it's been really fun to see. I mean, we've seen it some in what we do, and I'm sure you see it a lot, where someone who has never really used technology for something that they love to do figures out how to incorporate it into something they're already great at. Like, I've gotten into quilting and sewing recently. I love that you were talking about that, because I was like, that's me. That's what I've been getting into. So I've been getting into doing that. So I've joined all these quilting groups on Facebook. And I keep seeing people say, oh, I just discovered I can use my Cricut or my Silhouette to cut out my, quilt squares or my pattern shapes, whatever. And they're talking about how it saves them so much time and it's so precise. But they're still getting to do what they've always loved. It doesn't fundamentally change the craft. It just enhances it in a new way. And
it just makes life easier, I think, for them. Makes life easier, and I think absolutely, you're sort of incorporating those two. So you're saying, right, this is what, you can still sit there on the sofa and sew, but the cutting out is made a lot easier, and probably more precise. I don't know if that's the
which definitely helps, because I was the queen. I just did my first quilt, and I was the queen the whole time of saying, well, this feels a little off, but I think it'll all sort out in the end. And spoiler, it doesn't actually, because if you mess it up early on, it just gets worse.
I think
He is
it's
lying.
amazing. Yeah. We have a quilt competition in Scotland every year, so which again is sort of makes you see the amount of talent on show. With the
It's crazy what people can do.
You just think that you just got like 150, 200 quilts on display that people have made, and you just think, oh my god. And then there's people that I don't know, and they really, like you say, they really stress about, this has taken me all year.
Yeah, the straightest of lines everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So
my quilt would win no awards.
And that's why I'm in awe of them, because all I can do is glitter. So.
Yeah, there you go. Glitter, don't diminish that. A great skill to have.
It is, yes, yeah. Bring it back on trend.
Exactly.
As long as it's biodegradable, probably.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So, as if I was someone who just didn't know that the event existed and I found out it was in town, can I go to the front and just buy a ticket? Do I need to buy online? Do I have to buy early?
You can buy a ticket online, you can buy a ticket on the day, or you can buy a ticket at the show. So, however, I would always say buy online first, because you usually get the best deal. If you buy at the show, obviously it's not as cost effective, and as a crafter you want to have as much money as you can to spend at the show. But yeah, just keep an eye on the socials, keep an eye on the socials of the website, and there's ticket codes, or sign up to the newsletter. But make sure you come and see the Design Bundle stand. That's what I would say.
Of course. And actually, I do have a quick follow-up question, because we didn't really talk about this. We talked about the workshops and like what is a must-do, but is there anything you see for sale in the shopping area every year that you're like, this is amazing, you have to check this out, shopping-wise?
So it would depend if my wife's with me or not with me.
We'll pretend she's with you.
If she's with me, it's very expensive, because then everything's brilliant. But to be honest, I think we were the last time, which was only a couple of weeks ago. There was so she's more crafty than I am. So there was some sort of like beautiful sort of Christmas fabrics. So she was very much into sort of saying, right, I want one of those, or I'm going to make some coasters out of this, or whatever creativity was in the mind at the time. But I think for me, I am always fascinated by the machines, sort of like the Krieger machines, and what you can do with that, and that that's something. And I'm not just saying it, but sort of like looking at the packages that design bundles have, and how you can actually utilize that to potentially, grow your own business, or
totally
enhance your craft. I think that's really quite exciting. So I think for me, I'm probably more of a finished craft person, like oh look, there's the Christmas show, there's some chocolate, there's some fudge,
it's already done.
I can sit there and craft and enjoy yourself at the same time. But yeah, I think that's sort of like technical side. But in all honesty, I'm always in awe of everything that's at the show, because there's so many talented people within the craft industry, and I just think it's just brilliant to see the visitors sort of come, and you just think, you're for sort of like 50,000 people, you're sort of putting on their sort of favourite time of the year. So it's just, amazing to see. So, yeah.
Okay, Steve. So remind us again, what are the dates and kind of the general info that people need to show up?
So the dates for the Creative Craft Show at the NEC, which is sponsored by Design Bundles. Thank you very much, Design Bundles. 30th of October to the 2nd of November. And to buy your tickets, go to ichf.co.uk. Or ichfevents.co.uk, sorry. That's me, I'm fired.
We'll put it on the screen. Nick will put it on the screen.
Or you can go to the creativecraftshow.co.uk, whichever's easiest. But you can buy your tickets for the show, workshops, and of course you get 3 shows in one.
And if anyone from the US is listening and is just dying to go, just like we are, it's not too late to just hop on a plane.
It's not too late. Hop on a plane.
Over to the UK.
Hop on a plane. 4 days at the NEC, come and meet
That's
me.
a vacay right
Come and
there.
meet me. I'll buy you a cup of tea if you come all the way
There
from
you
the
go.
United States.
Basically makes the whole expenditure worth it right there.
Exactly. Yes.
You
yeah.
could meet the Glitter King himself,
You
Steve,
can meet the Glitter King
if
himself.
you go to the craft show.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steve, for joining us today. Hopefully everybody comes and they come hang out with us. We're going to be there with our own booth, and we'll have some computers open, and we'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff. So come see us. Come see Steve. Come have a cup of tea with him. And that's all for our Craftstache episode today, but I hope everybody has a great week.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's craft and laugh till we can't anymore.